Paul Pogba calls it an honor to play with him. Obama and LeBron are his inspirations. So who is he? Aurelian Tchuameni has become the biggest signing of the summer, with Real Madrid having wrapped up €100 million deal for France international from Monaco. It marks the next step in the meteoric rise for the midfielder whose talents, so Los Blancos, came out on top in a hard-fought transfer battle against Paris Saint-Germain and Liverpool to capture that 22-year-old. The France midfielder has signed a 4-year contract with the European champions. That deep-line playmaker had become a coveted target for a host of leading European clubs this summer. In signing Tchuameni, Real Madrid have brought in a player who promises to be one of the world's leading midfielders for the next decade, as well as a much-needed replacement for Casemiro. How much did Tchuameni cost Real Madrid? Tchuameni's performance over the next few years will determine whether his price is excessive or not, but as the market stands, paying $100 million was the only way for Madrid to compete with clubs like PSG or from the Premier League. $100 million overall, though it will be split between an initial transfer fee and bonus payments. Madrid have confirmed that Germany has spent a 6-year deal at Santiago Bernabeu, tying him down to Los Blancos through until the summer of 2028. Reports suggest he is set to earn around 175,000 euros a week in terms of salary, or 700,000 a month, or 8 million a year. What makes Germany tick? What kind of players here have drawn such rich plaudits from fellow players and coaches at a young age? And what is it that could help him stand out amid a superstar-filled ranks at Santiago Bernabeu? A defensive midfielder, dubbed here, enjoyed a superb rise through the domestic and international ranks over the past few seasons. Signed from Bordeaux in January 2020, he has since played 95 games for Monaco and scored 8 goals, but it has been Germany's efforts away from the final third that have underlined his value to date, even at such a young age. To some extent, we can attribute his creative skills to the fact that in youth academy he started out as a striker. However, a lot of this has something to do with his eyes and vision. The 22-year-old ability to control games from his position as a defensive midfielder has helped him set a steady tempo for his team in big and small games. The player is also at home when it comes to drawing possessions forward from the back to allow him to get a defensive flow of a match around him, with some observers having even called him a mix something in between of N'Golo Kante and Paul Pogba. French duo at Bernabeu. He's the next in line with the outstanding French defensive midfielders of the several generations, starting from Patrick Vieira, Claude Makélélé, and the likes of N'Golo Kante and Paul Pogba, the stars of the last several years. In terms of his style of play, he's something in between the energy and the engine of N'Golo Kante and the elegance of Claude Makélélé. In Madrid, 18th is arguably the number for losers. Tchuameni chose the 18th number to be seen on the back of his Madrid jersey. At Bernabeu, 18 is the number of players who haven't actually lived up to their potential. Before him, Javier Saviola and Antonio Cassano, some wonder-kids of the past, wore the jersey with this number, and more recently Gareth Bale. Only time will tell if he is the next overrated player or one of the pillars in Madrid's midfield like Toni Kroos or Luka Modric. He was born to be the number 8, but in Madrid's squad, at least as of now, this number belongs to Toni Kroos. By looking at the players Carlo Ancelotti chose for the latest matches, we can assume Germany could take the number 8 soon. So probably Aurelian won't be playing with this number on his back, at least for the next transfer window. A couple of years ago, Madrid changed its scouting policy, or even philosophy of Galacticos, their president Florentino Perez previously preached. Now they've been heavily investing in young talents, buying and testing players as young as 18, with special focus on the Brazilian market. Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo are only a few of them. They signed French talent Eduardo Camavinga last year, and now colleagues at the French international team create a midfielder in the Los Blancos starting 11, with Aurelian being more defensive than his international teammate, who is 2 years younger. His former coach kept a block on him. His former coach Gustavo Poyet kept a block on his talents. Having broken through at Bordeaux, Tchuameni's skill was so impressive that his coach Gustavo Poyet dedicated swaths of his website to waxing lyrical about it, then teenage prowess. He was a big boy, confident on the ball and intelligent, he said. At that time he was still studying at the university. He was always interested in learning and improvement. He was really attentive. If you ask him to do something, he will do it. It's worth mentioning his enthusiasm to listen and to ask questions, which is very important for a coach. I have always watched him with pleasure and intensity. His play earned him a debut in the Didier Deschamps squad as the Le Bleu beat Spain to win 2021 Nations League final. His complete player, the Le Bleu boss Didier Deschamps stated in reference to the midfielder's skills, added that he was particularly impressed by his head and the necessary maturity. Paul Pogba meanwhile described it as an honor to play with him, adding, "He's not a boy, he's a man. He brings a lot of energy, really lots of energy. Also, he has great technique and great physique." Aurelian Tchuameni watched his father Ferdinand fail to make a career of a professional football player, and he vowed he would once again live his dreams through his beloved son. Later, father made a career in pharmacy and became CEO of a French-based vaccine production plant. So Aurelian was raised in a middle-class French family, since his mom is senior director advisor. Father's criticism drove him on to higher levels. Though Tchuameni's desire to improve was apparent as a teenager, he took a conversation with his father Ferdinand, an aspiring player turned medical professional, to spur him on to new heights. I told him that I wanted to speak to him face to face and that he should give me 2 hours. There later remained as a talk between father and son. I told him that I hadn't recognized him recently and that he had become an ordinary player. At the end of that discussion, Aurelian told his father, "Dad, you'll see." Since then, the midfielder has only gone from strength to strength and will look to hit the ground running as he dons the famous white shirt of Real Madrid this season and French international team at the World Cup in Qatar. Age 11, Aurelian Tchuameni joined Bordeaux, whose scouts saw him at the Ortigues Academy. It must be said that it wasn't all roses for him. At the age of 14 years old, he got seriously injured, but a major part of his unhappiness was boiled down to the fact that he was homesick. He felt alone there in southern France, far away from his home. Although he got back to normal when the coaches attempted to convert him from the striking position to midfield. And now his experience as playing up the field helps him to score goals and build up the attacks, assisting his attacking players. He made his first debut for Bordeaux in Europa League in the season of 2018/19 against Latvian club Ventspils, and he scored his first goal against another European side of Mariupol, a club from the Ukrainian city, which was later completely destroyed by Russian troops during its 2022 invasion. And when the Russian invasion had started February 24, and the seaside city hit the headlines, Tchuameni probably remembered the football team he scored his first goal at the international clubs tournament. When Didier Deschamps decided to go for the magnificent four in his World Cup 11, Kylian Mbappe, Antoine Griezmann, Ousmane Dembele and Olivier Giroud, the first thing he did was trying to persuade Aurelian Tchuameni to limit his moves from midfield to third, because he was going to be in charge as the only central midfielder to support the whole team. Although against Australia he was a bit more elusive, but his game against Denmark was that of the perfect midfielder. According to Opta data, the Real Madrid player completed one of the best games as far as the effectiveness goes at the World Cup. In fact, he only missed one pass out of 67 made, recovered 9 balls, and made only one foul. The obscure task entrusted to him by Deschamps was the reason for discussion in the mixed zone. It was Griezmann himself who raised his voice for those who weren't involved in the scoring. I can do many more things, but the coach has asked me to do a very precise role, and the most important thing is to respect it. Am I frustrated? Not at all. If we win the World Cup, of course. In the match against Australia, I had to be more attentive to the transitions between the lines. And I think that against Denmark, I was a little bit more offensive. If I have to stay back more, I'll have to do it. Meteoric trajectory. With injuries on N'Golo Kante and Paul Pogba, France midfield is possibly the weakest area of the world champions. But the thing is, Tchuameni is constantly moving up the ladder, from Monaco to Real Madrid, where he's won a certain place, and now he's enjoying his first World Cup with France. And the fact that he plays among one of the best players in Madrid, like Cristiano Ronaldo, helps him to grow quicker. In his recent interview, Aurelian told journalists about his teammate. I can tell you that taking the ball from Lucas' feet is very difficult. When you manage to take it from a guy like that, you can take it from anyone.